One man, one son. One dream that the world said was impossible. He had no house, no savings, no help. Yet he refused to give up. This is the true story of Chris Gardner, the man who went from sleeping in subway bathrooms with his son to walking into Wall Street in a borrowed suit. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, because this story isn't just about success. It's about surviving when life leaves you with nothing but willpower. Now picture this. It's the 1980s in San Francisco. Rent prices climbing, jobs scarce, and everything costs more every month. Sounds familiar, right? Chris is trying to sell medical equipment that barely anyone wants to buy anymore. He's behind on rent, behind on bills, and suddenly a single father. He's holding his son, Christopher Jr., with one arm and holding the last thread of his pride with the other. He's not just broke, he's invisible. And in today's world, that invisibility is something millions feel. Working 2 jobs, still struggling to pay rent. Fighting to keep their dignity while the world keeps raising prices. Chris once said, "You can only depend on yourself." But the truth is, most people never learn how until life forces them to. He and his son spent nights in shelters. Some nights they didn't even have that luxury. They'd lock themselves in a subway bathroom, praying no one knocks. Yet every morning he'd wake up early, wash his face in a gas station sink, put on the same wrinkled suit, and walk into an office filled with people who had everything he didn't. He wasn't a stockbroker yet. He was an intern, unpaid. But he kept showing up. Now stop and think, would you? If you were hungry, homeless, and exhausted, would you still show up to work for free? Most people today can't even afford to take a day off. But Gardner knew that the only way out was through. He didn't chase comfort. He chased freedom. Because he understood something that too many of us forget. Comfort is expensive. Freedom is priceless. Back then, interest rates were sky high. Gas prices rising. Recession creeping. Sounds like our world now, doesn't it? The poor getting poorer, the rich still multiplying. But Chris Gardner looked around and said, "If they can make it, so can I." That's the energy we need in this generation. In an economy where groceries cost more than rent used to, and people work 40 hours a week just to survive, we need stories like his to remind us that the climb is still worth it. Every rejection letter he got felt like another wall closing in. But he kept knocking. Every no he heard pushed him closer to his yes. He once ran from one side of the city to the other just to get one interview. No car. No phone. No money for a bus. But he had a reason, his son. That's what made his story powerful. He wasn't chasing wealth. He was chasing a future. And let's be real, in today's world, that's all we're trying to do. Build something stable in a system that's shaking. He said, "The world is your classroom, don't skip class." And that hits hard, because every mistake teaches you something that school never will. He didn't have a safety net. No degree. No connections. No plan B, just hunger and heart. Now think about your own life. Maybe you're a single parent working 2 jobs. Maybe you're a student drowning in debt. Maybe you're 50 and starting over because your company cut you loose. Whatever it is, your situation doesn't define your destination. That's what Chris Gardner proved. He finally landed the internship at Dean Witter Reynolds. But it didn't pay a dime. So while others went home to dinner, he went home to the streets, if you could even call that home. He worked harder than anyone else there. Not because he wanted to impress them, but because he couldn't afford not to. When he finally got hired as a full-time broker, he didn't celebrate at a fancy restaurant. He cried quietly on the sidewalk. Because he knew he had won a war no one saw. Years later, he opened his own firm, Gardner Rich and Company. And suddenly, the man who once slept in a bathroom was managing millions. But the real success wasn't the money. It was the story he built from the ashes. Now let's bring this story closer to today's reality. Look around you. We live in a world where financial stress is the new pandemic. Where people are choosing between paying rent or buying food. Where kids are graduating with debt bigger than mortgages. where families break apart not from lack of love, but from lack of stability. And yet, there are still people who rise. Because no matter how the economy shifts, the one thing that doesn't change is the human will to rebuild. That's what Chris Gardner represents. He didn't wait for someday. He built his someday in the middle of right now. He said, if you want something, go get it, period. No excuses. No waiting. No permission. So how do we take this story and live it today? Let's break it down. Not into lessons, but into real-life moves you can make right now. Move 1. Work through the storm, not around it. Most people quit when life gets chaotic. But storms aren't a sign to stop. They're a sign to grow stronger roots. If you're in a financial mess, don't run from it. Face it, fix it, learn from it. Growth never happens in calm weather. Move 2. Build value before you build income. Chris Gardner worked for free, but he wasn't really unpaid. He was investing in his future skill set. In today's world, that means learning something every day that can't be taken from you. Technology, communication, empathy, those are currencies that inflation can't touch. Move 3. Bet on consistency, not luck. Everyone wants viral success, fast money, instant fame. But Gardner played the long game. He wasn't chasing a jackpot, he was building a foundation. So whatever your dream is, treat it like rent. Pay it daily. Because here's the truth. The system might not be fair, but your effort is your equity. You can't control the market, but you can control your mindset. You can't predict the economy, but you can prepare your response. And in the end, that's what separates those who stay stuck from those who break through. Chris Gardner wasn't just lucky, he was prepared when opportunity finally knocked. He didn't waste time comparing, he didn't care who had nicer suits or better chances. He cared about showing up, even when it hurt. And that's the message for this generation drowning in comparison. Stop looking at everyone else's highlight reels. You're not behind, you're just in your build-up phase. If you're in your 20s, struggling to find purpose, remember Chris was in his 30s when he started over. If you're in your 40s, feeling like time's slipping, remember, he was homeless, holding his son, still fighting for a chance. If you're in your 60s, wondering if you've missed your shot, remember he became wealthy later in life. There's no deadline on your destiny. He showed us that success doesn't care where you start, only that you keep moving. You might not have investors. You might not have savings, but you have you. And that's enough to start. If you woke up today, you've already been given the opportunity millions prayed for last night. So take it. Do something with it, even if it's small. Because someday, the world will look back at your story and call it luck, but you'll know it was persistence. And persistence is the most underrated superpower on Earth. Chris Gardner's life is not a fairy tale. It's a blueprint. He built his empire from nothing but heart, hustle, and hunger. So when you feel like the odds are stacked, when you're buried under bills or burnout, remember this: you are not alone, and you are not finished. Someone out there is holding on because of you. Your story might be the reason they don't give up. So keep going. Keep showing up. Keep building even when no one's watching. Because your happiness isn't waiting at the end. It's built along the way. You're not defined by your worst day. You're defined by how you rise after it. Chris Gardner proved that rock bottom isn't the end. It's the foundation for something unbreakable. And that's your reminder tonight. No matter your age, income, or past, you still have time to rewrite your story. So start now. Don't wait for motivation. Create momentum, because nobody's coming to save you. But you can save yourself. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to remember that life can turn around. And if you believe that your time is still coming, hit subscribe. Join us here at Grind and Grow, where we rise one comeback at a time.